Hello everyone. I think today I'm just going to sit around and rap with my friends. I've been thinking about that, and I thought, we're always tearing up these cases, and I have a couple more. I think a couple things here we'll cover a little bit, but I thought I'd just sit around and rap a little bit for the holidays and see if you're all okay. It's an interesting time on this in this particular drama, on this rock spinning through space and all that implies. And the holidays is a time when the individual learns that giving, of course, is receiving, because it makes you feel good to help others. And when you help others, you're helping yourself. Because as we've journeyed through the worlds of health physically, we've also journeyed into the worlds of God. And we've talked a lot about how you understand and have God awareness and the factors of the mind and emotion. We've covered a lot of information. Sometimes spiritually I don't have a lot to say, because there's a point, and I think man has come to that point. And obvious with books like The Power of the Now and Conversations with God. All the Eck Masters brought out the Eck writings, from 65 on. And they were back in those Sanskrit days of, you can find Ekankara written in the Sanskrit writings, in the Hugh, things like this. And I think that for a lot of you who are taking your spiritual exercises, I think it's important to take like 20 minutes a couple of times a day and just sit down and find your space. It's just you. And that is just you. That's the aloneness of just you. And get away from the chattering of the mind. When you sit in contemplation, the whole experience should be a time away from thought and desire. You do that all the time. Most people are trapped in that because they were never taught how to use the mind and not have the mind use them. And so they move from one desire to another desire. Trapped in there myself. I watch it, I try to watch my mind all the time, but I'm not careful. That thing can just take off and thinking like crazy. And then I go, oh, wait a minute. Because simplicity, and I've tried to teach everyone that, because I think if you understanding simplicity is seeing the wholeness of all things and how all things interact. Then you can get into the science of things and the complication of things. But I think that as you go on this journey, this is a journey of awakening. Not only a journey of wellness, but wellness, even though I'm not real hot and keen on the word, it is almost like a complete state. Like when we say God, it's a complete state. Very difficult because of man's religions, which a lot of them lack spirituality. And that's sad, because they're just, a set of guidelines for people. The spiritual part of that. And I remember one day I was listening to this minister, preacher, or televangelist on a show. I was at someone's house doing some work, and I was watching the TV, and he was talking about the power of the now and how it's important to live like little children, as Jesus said, and it's important to live in that in every moment. And that was a spiritual infusion into religious teachings, and I thought that was really, really a good sermon, or I can't remember what that was. But I thought that was excellent, because the bottom line to your experiences is either going to drag you along and make you unhappy, or you're going to be in the forefront of that. Remember I was talking about lead dog thing? It wasn't about ego. It was about you taking your rightful seat in being awakened to your creation, and let your creation wind itself down. Most of you that come here are not new souls just out of the heavens. You know, you're here on your last journeys. You're here to awaken. So many of you are awakening and having out-of-body experiences and starting to understand life more from the infinite as opposed to the finite. We tend to, like medical doctors, look at the ass end of the donkey first. Little us that is not worth anything looks to the big God of all gods and asking for help, when we are ourselves in that consciousness or in the aware or in the awakened state. We are a piece of that mirror, of that whole mirror of God. We are just a little piece of that. When you get more away from creation, that piece gets bigger. And when you leave creation completely, there's no more little piece hardly. The little piece starts to merge and become the one big piece. I remember I've had experiences going that way so much. I think I told you one time, and the voice was echoing through me, "Stop, you won't be able to come back." And I would just, the need to have that total experience of allness. It's a hauntingness within each and every one of you. It is the aloneness within yourself, not the loneliness. That which is individual, that which is the state of one, yet infinite. Hard to describe that. One can only understand the all in the all, what creation is, what you are. We can only understand these things when we lay aside our mind and our desires, our emotions. These two tools that we use, or that soul uses, which is you, these two tools, the mind and emotions, is how you create, is how you drive your car in creation. Our biggest trap is thinking that that is us, and that these tools, we must refine these tools, and we must use the mind, and we're judged academically. If we can't pronounce a word that long, we're dubbed as stupid. And we've had this talk a great deal in the journey in the last couple of years about the mind. And for some, it's like, wow, the mind, you're going to lose the mind. Because we're so steeped in thinking the mind is the all in the all. And that's not true. Thoughts are things. Thoughts are processes, is an activity. Awareness is inclusive. It's all in the all. There is nothing outside of that. There's no space for thoughts because it is in the all. So the mind is how we take our infinite self and start individualizing and creating activity. Because in creation we have to deal with duality, as we do when we're looking at health of the physical body. We're looking at acid and base chemistry and how each of those sides of chemistry create different magnetic environments and create different metabolitic issues and ionization issues and things like this. And you could go nuts with that, down the line with that, or you could pull back as you have to in spirituality anyway. Pull back and realize, what, life is simple. And I want to have fun while I'm here. I want to play. I want to, experience. But at the same time, some of you have been experiencing lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And it's time to awaken and get out. So there's a lot of you that's there. I have a lot of different souls comes to this channel. So forgive me, but this is kind of a little rap session for all levels. So there are some of you, it's time to stop creating and start awakening more. And that's what you're doing. Going down this raw food focus, and particularly as you get away from the more earthly vegetables, you'll find something happening to you. A transition of peace. A transition away from inflammation and pain and spasticity. You'll find yourself moving in a direction of feeling whole and complete. And questions, the answers to questions you have just seem to be there at the tip of your finger. You seem to get a better understanding of you as separate from activity or creation. No difference. You know, I see everything as kind of reflective of the way creation is. So one of my favorite analogies, of course, is going into the movies and watching a movie. And, you know, it just depends what movie house, it depends what movie, all that depends your experience. And, of course, that's just what creation is. Whether you're on this planet or another planet or in another region, the worlds of God is endless in terms of creation. There's so many places to experience and be, and you can't even fathom them all. That's another brain teaser, is out-of-body travel and the massiveness of the heavens. Massive areas of creation. It's just infinite in its own way. But it doesn't bring you the sucre, that inner deep need you have to know, to be awake, to know really the truth of all things. And the only way you can find the truth of all things is when you get away from all conditioning. You've got to strip away what your school thought you should learn, what books you read, because a lot of times in school we find that the textbooks taught us one thing, but truth ended up being something totally different. You look on History Channel, and so many times historically they're refuting what's in a lot of the textbooks. And so after a while you go, well, what should I put in there that I can stand firm on, that I can believe in? And there is nothing, because there's only one thing for you to believe in, and that's yourself. You are the living truth. Like detoxification is the golden key, you're the golden key. You're the golden key to your own happiness, to your joy. No one else is. Not your lover, not your mate, not your family. Do not depend upon anyone or anything for your joy. Yourself, your deepest self. And to find the deepest self is simply to get rid of conditioning, to get rid of desires for a while. You know, you can want things and buy things. But if you watch how the mind works, people are constantly in a state of thinking, planning, desiring. What am I going to get next? I'm going to do this. I want to do this. I'm going to do this. I want to go over here and I want to do this. And I want to do this. We're in a constant state of planning our future. And the key to getting away from creation in the future is stop planning. Let all this cycles work itself out through you. You don't have to worry. It'll all work itself out for you. It's amazing. Life is here for you. But it's here for each and every one of you. It's here for all of us. So in these holidays, you want to rejoice with the nowness of things, in that which is, because it's easy in holidays, especially Christmas, to take off in the imagination. The imagination is your astral body, and that is your emotional body, and that's where you can, it's untold the amount of experiences that you can dream and that you can experience. There's just so much to all of this, and yet the simplicity of it is what you always should seek. You know, if you look at the simplicity of spirituality as well as simplicity of health, which is hard to separate the two, that's where you find truth. And this planet is craving truth. Because as you see, the negative forces keep chomping. Because as spiritual people awaken, they don't want to be a part of that. They no longer, they start to pull away from creation. The important thing for you guys that are doing that is to keep feeding awareness, consciousness, love, whatever you wish to call that which is divine, through yourself. And you have to be somewhat proactive, even though you're not using the mind. Or when you do, you're in control of that usage. And then you can make differences, even though it doesn't matter, because no one is from this here in creation. We're from here outside of creation. And you always want to be here outside of creation and put everything outside of you. Don't be the little one seeking the big one. Be the big one playing in the fields of dreams. Because it's what you are. That's the only thing you can be. So it's a fun thing to dig into these levels of health and vitality, and soul at this level has never had this level of health pushed on him so much. And I think this is why you're seeing. I think even if you go back in the earlier distance of time, you still won't find the utopia. Now, you've had raw food groups, which Jesus was a part of, the agnostics and the Essenes. These were raw food groups. You've had raw food groups probably as far back as man's been eating dead foods and cooked foods. Hard to imagine that man has been on two paths going down the road. One of omnivorish thinking and cooking the foods and meat eating, and the islanders, who have always sustained vitality and long life, as opposed to those in northern climates, who the further north you went, the shorter you lived. Look at that. It wasn't that long back. Eskimos only had a lifespan of 45 years? So when you see all these things and you start to put all this together, because by pulling back from desire, you actually can see more. Thoughts are things. So when you are thinking, your attention is involved because you're viewing what you're thinking. It's the viewer that's the key, not the thoughts you think. Those are real things in terms of karma, and those things you set in motion, those things that come back on you. But the viewer, that which supplies the attention, the seer, the looker, the knower. That's why if you can grab the simplicity of wellness, become the knower. Don't be shook. Because there's opinions and books written a mile long. Some of us have been down most of those books and tried most of those things. And the thing, if you keep your life simple and you don't waver much, you'll be surprised the distance you can travel. You know, when you try to mix too many things at once, confusion sets in, and this is true in the spiritual path as well. You would be better off not believing anything about God. You'd be better off to be an atheist just looking at how life is put together. When you get to that point of pure observation or pure nowness or pure beingness, these are the only words that are out there to describe this state. That's why it's somewhat difficult. It's a state of non-thinking, which is awareness. Thoughts are not awareness, they're things. So it's enough to say that by living in this glorious nowness, that's when you start becoming privy. That's when you start seeing things that your eyes were closed to. And your eyes were only closed because you were thinking. We live in the mind. We're taught that from the minute we come out almost. And hopefully in the future, education will be changed, and we'll be able to have the spiritual side as well as the 3 R's. So all these things are vital to the growth of man. We've just got lost in the intellectual side and must wake up to that. And not a good awakening, because there's university after university. The intellectualism has been prized by man. The problem has been his downfall too. So that's the other problem to that. The duality of mind, the duality of emotions. They flip between the two sides. Only you, which is ever present. Notice there's no place you can go you're not. There's nowhere you can go that you're not there or here. There's nowhere. You're here all the time, no matter where you go. Time is nothing but a succession of heres, of nows. And so if you can live in that eternal now, you still have to work, you still have to do all these things, but you can do it from a different perspective. And your life becomes more fulfilled. You don't look to others for your security, because you know you're the only one that's your security. You don't feel a need because you're at your home. your home, and no one can hurt you at this home. So that's a better place to be. And the word surrender pops into my mind a lot. But you're not surrendering to someone, to some things. You're letting go of the mind. You're letting go of your desires. You can still play. You can still buy things and have things. But everything you have, you must be willing to let go. I see these people that have been in these hurricanes and these tornadoes, and they've lost everything. God ripped their material life away from them. Didn't rip them. Rip their material life away from them. This will give them one of the greatest opportunities to let go and realize that life, love, beauty, joy comes from a much, much higher place. And you see people transcend into that, and they just become filled with joy and happiness. It's our attachments. You know, I was thinking about that yesterday. I was doing a meditation. I was thinking, you know, I've got a couple of these big Indian baskets that's probably taller than I am. And I love them because they're so big and beautiful. Somebody weaved these huge baskets. And I live in a little place, so I have one in storage, you know. But I'm thinking, you know, I was in the storeroom getting something the other day, and there I am standing right by that basket. I knew that basket's there. See, everything you have, there's a piece of you attached to it everywhere there is. Even that little bitty earring you have stuck in the drawer there. And that's the problem. Don't be too attached to what you have. It's a lesson for all of us. Because who cares if today it's here and tomorrow it's gone? You're the only thing that's important, and your happiness and your joy and your security and your awareness. Because your awareness is your survival. When it's low and you're full of stress and frustration, you're obviously not happy. You feel separate. You feel all those negative feelings that go along with that. Loneliness, all kinds of things. Pain. And when you turn yourself to that which is the all, you are moving yourself into there's no words to describe the energy, the ecstasy, the joy, the nirvana. There's just no words to describe these levels. And this level just happens to be an extreme reducer of those experiences. Even the higher aspects of the mind is what we call cosmic consciousness. They use the word Christ consciousness at times. The bliss plane, I think, in Hinduism or Buddhism. These are high levels, not even close to where you can be, but definitely high levels of experience within creation still. You know, this is where you recognize the oneness of all life. And that you and I, even though we have different bodies and we like different things, we, us, the whole, the one, still the same. Still the same. That's why I love every one of you. And every one of you, you're right here where you need to be. You're home. You got a mind out there on a journey, and your emotions are out on a journey. And let them go play. But take some time in your contemplations to feel the allness of the now. I always think, if you want to waste your time in contemplation, because there's a time where you want to be contemplation. Someone asked me one time, do you, meditate a half hour every day, an hour every day? I said, I live in meditation. Unless I forget, and the mind says, hey, let me take you on a little thought journey. I want to thank you guys so much. And this one card, I just love so much. And I really, Tracy, I love you, honey. Appreciate it. But the neat thing about this woman is that she's not only getting her health back and getting her wellness back, she's teaching classes at her community center, has an educational website, featured in local newspapers, and counseling clients. Tracy, dear, you're exactly why I do this. You're being a great soul, a great vehicle for that which we call God. And that's where we all come from. That's us. That's what all life is. So you're bringing into life a high level, as we've been talking about, of understanding, or the ability for your clients to get there. And this is what it's all about, is those of you just start helping others, those that want to. Not all of you have to. But I thought, Tracy, such a great letter to you. And, we all love you guys from here, and we appreciate those that do this are standing amongst us all and being the masters of life and giving to others. And that's more fun. There's, play in the playground all you want, but then enjoy the fun of being home. And I have to say, Chad, that's a lot of dates. Chad sent me some of the best dates, organic dates. I take it Chad has a date farm. My God. Love you, Chad. My God. Majules. They look like Baharis. They're called something else. I also want to take time to give a shout out to Joseph. Joseph, I seen you as Pegasus when I first saw you. And this is Joseph. My God. Well, if this is a YouTuber, she obviously loves horses. When someone asked me, what is it about a horse? I said, I can't explain it to you. They're magical. If you've never befriended a horse, my God, it's like your best friend. They're like another person, except they love you. And it's just, they're amazing. I can't even describe what it's like. We raised horses, and these are unbelievable horses. Huge feet. I'd hate to be like Clydesdales. I'd hate to be stepped on them. They're just unbelievably gorgeous. Just look at the gorgeousness of these horses. I was kind of making sense because he looks like a unicorn without a unicorn. But I got a hold of a book one time on unicorns and the history and where they came into play in mankind is amazing. Man, these horses. And this is a little woman behind it. Just amazing. Amazing stuff. You guys are something else. These are just incredible. I feel like I could just reach out and pat them. And kiss that little soft nose. I want to thank you for all your cards, all your Christmas cards. There's so many here. I just want to thank you all. There's just so many cards here. So many beautiful cards. I want you all to know I look at them all. I read them all. No question about it. You guys are great beings and a pleasure. And of course the golden key with it. Just an extreme pleasure with all of you here. Just really appreciate it. It's like Tracy here. You're the type of woman right there. And I love these. These are perfect. Laminated and everything. Who would think how important a picture like this is? And the importance of having kidneys that filter. Man makes way too much of everything, but that's creation. And you see that the pathway that humans have been going on this planet hasn't been to their advantage so much. Yes, technology is incredible, but it lacks spirituality. So now, that's what you see in this country, a move of socialism. Just horrible for those people that are awake in this country. This country is at the very edges of losing its freedom. And I would say probably has. I believe there will have to be a war to get it back. But then that seems to be creation, always wars. Ugh, positive and negative. That's why it's nice to take a break once in a while from that. A cup of tea, anybody? This sediment is so important. I can't overemphasize it. And like I've said before, there are some that have a very hard time getting their kidneys to filter. And I want you to keep remembering how simple life can be and yet powerful. Simplicity is not weak and not stupid. Simplicity is the most powerful way to be because it's whole and the one. It is awareness. And the mind thoughts are just thoughts. There's nothing more powerful than the whole. And that's why holistic is important to understand. Why we don't use supplements. We use herbs, but they haven't been cooked. They haven't been, the chemistry hasn't been ripped out of them. They're here to give you themselves to you and your problems. They're there to help you clean your body out and to help you rebuild specific tissue. So no one should ever be afraid of herbs. We're here to stand for truth and God and even creation in that way. We have people on this planet even afraid of creation. They live these little bitty lives and so controlled by propaganda and thought. I feel sorry for these souls, but some of them don't want to awaken yet. And you guys have seen this yourselves, where you have loved ones, friends. You've found the key, but they don't want to hear you. But that's okay, because maybe you're the only one in your whole group or your whole family that's meant to awaken at this time. Nice to see a lot more awaken, and that's what's happening. People are awakening every day. And souls are starting to learn more of who they are. They're starting to understand that side of that. But they're also awakening up to a lot of serious problems that there doesn't seem to be a remedy for. And the reason there's no remedy because the focus is all wrong. People are running to their medical doctors, they always have, but they're running because they're so full of pain and getting so discouraged because there's no remedy for them. It's the same old crap, except for those good medical doctors out there that are doing holistic work now, that are doing detoxification, are doing just what they're meant to do, is take you through a journey from Hellville to Wellville. And in fact, I was going to read this because I thought this was pretty cute. I just picked up this group this morning, and this first one I just started glancing at. I thought, oh, wow, this might be interesting. So maybe I'll read that in a couple of them to you. But, some of your journeys are long, some are hard. If you fight growth, it's going to be hard. It's almost as if you just got to let go. Know that there's only one way to get well. Don't fight it. Take it on. Take it on. Take on that mind. Take on that emotions. Gain control of thought. Stop desiring. It's your emotions that keep you desiring for everything all the time. You can only have so many things, and it doesn't bring you any happiness or succor because these are things. They're not at you and your awareness. That's the beauty of just merging with this whole consciousness of living foods. There's some of us that are not all raw. There's some that have a little cooked vegetables. And one lady said, when I cheat, I have some cooked vegetables. I said, that's the smartest way to cheat. Am I going to blame her for cheating? No, because I've cheated. That's why you cheat. You have to have humility. Humility is a huge part of oneness. Because I see me and you as one. I see us as all one being with separate bodies, separate minds, and separate emotions, and separate journeys. That's the fun of it all, and that's why it's there, of course, so God can experience endlessly. But at the same time, it loses itself. Just like we lose ourselves, of course we'd lose ourselves because we're from that source. And if you watch your life, it loses you. And so it's a constant struggle sometimes to remember, sometimes, to be in the now. In the process of retraining, I might add. The same thing with health is you always keep it simple. The body's just a bunch of cells and two major fluids. Don't make it too complicated. Only two sides of chemistry. Medical believe in alkalosis. We believe in acidosis. I don't think there's much facts to back their side up, and they have very little statistics to show any type of curative value. I don't see any. So we all need this level of thinking. And so I love all of you that are helping others, like Tracy here, amazing. And she will get a reputation as a healer herself. And you will get a reputation yourself. And each and every one of you will start getting a reputation of being that which represents love. That which represents healing. That which represents truth and justice. Those sort of corny things that really matter in a society gone mad. Because if you look around, our government has literally gone mad. It's just amazing. And so we have a madman in the White House. For those that are for him, sorry. But for those that get back and see a serious threat to the rights and freedoms of those that think they have it. But this represents this whole level of creation. This war is not physical. This war is up in the mind worlds, the mental worlds. All the governmental people have minds like everyone else. They're all part of the same mind, but the mind. If one says positive and negative, from a viewpoint, creation's negative, God's positive. However, there's no duality in God, only in creation. The illusion thereof, anyway. So anyway, I can rattle on for hours on this. There was a bunch of things I was going to write down. My problem is sometimes I get off and traveling and I don't write things down that come to me that I would like to talk to you about, because there's so many things to talk about in relationship to creation and God and all these things, and yet there's nothing. And I find myself a lot of times on the side of, well, it just is. There's not much to say about it. But that comes from a position of nowness, and that's where we must work. Because from that position, nothing matters. Because you're already home. You're already fine and well. It's the bodies that need to be taken care of. And your physical body is simplistic, but very, very chemical. And so it's chemistry that must help you. And magnetics, of course, energy, and all of that. So keep health simple. Know that to get out of pain and swelling and all of these acid conditions, you have to eat alkaline. Well, an alkaline environment is not a protein environment. An alkaline environment isn't a dairy food environment. An alkaline environment isn't a grain or nut or dead animal environment. These are all acids. So you have to be careful in the type of diet that you choose. And as we've said, understanding your species, I've always said in the last videos here, is number one in helping you to understand we are a frugivorous species. And how interesting is it that our problems seem to disappear when we, one, go raw, and two, even sometimes kick up to a higher fruit, berry, and melon diet. For all neurological conditions, whether it's cerebral or Bell's palsy, whether it's MS, Lou Gehrig's or Parkinson, spinal cord injuries, tremors, convulsions, seizures, I don't care what it is. You need to live on a fruit, berry, and melon diet, period. Check the parathyroids. Make sure you're utilizing calcium. Get the kidneys filtering. Get the acids out. Rebuild the myelin sheaths. Herbs and raw foods do all those things. There's nowhere else you need to grab anything, because that's a complete set of pharmacopoeia for you to help you come in and regenerate the human body. Sometimes it takes a little while, but it's regeneration. And that isn't talked about much on this planet, and you guys are going to be one of the few talking about it, because we know it's true. And look at all you guys and all the beautiful things that you guys have sent me that you've went through and got your health back. I know there are some of you that's still struggling. Don't give up, because there's nothing out there. Don't become that lost puppy in the wilderness, because there's nothing out there for you but seriousness, pain and suffering. To get out of pain and suffering, you must get these acids out of your body. To quit forming stones, you must get this acidosis out of the body. Well, there's only one system that is acid in the system, in your body. Blood isn't acidic, because we wouldn't be talking with each other if your blood was acidic. Death is within a few minutes. It's the lymph system. That's why everything is lymphomas, and that's why everything is inflammation and cholesterols and lipids and all this. This is your lymphatic system. And your lymphatic system, whether they believe this or not, is directly tied to your skin and kidneys. And you've got two major endocrine glands controlling both, thyroid and adrenals. So you want to always make healthy the endocrine glands, as we talked about. You get the kidneys filtering. That's why these charts are so, so important. Because when a medical doctor sees that, they think you have infection. 180 degrees different thinking. And I was thinking this the other day, you talk about dairy products. And I think of these poor kids. When you're talking about any other animal's milk, and that's why Jensen preferred the goat milk, of course, because of the size and type of species, but still, you're basically talking about an omnivore, even though a cow is a herbivore. But look at a cow's milk. Way too high in protein, way too high in fat, and look at all these formulas, like Ensure and Pedasure and all these things like this. High protein, high fat. What they don't get, that's just what the body doesn't want. And so you always see babies with mucousy, colicky type symptoms, always twisty pain, like they have gas, and always passing gas, must be burped, blah, 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 blah. Because they're not digesting these foods properly. And we've talked to you about some babies that have been killed by the medical doctors in an attempt to try to stop this regurgitation and this seriousness that the child is having from inability. Instead of changing the foods, like in this one case of Trevor, instead of changing the foods, the intellectual mind said, we'll tie this little 6-month-old baby's stomach around his esophagus so he won't throw up. And then we'll give him Botox treatments in the hiney so he can poop. Now, if you're going to med school and that's what you want to become, I really suggest for your own karma purposes you stop and rethink that you want to be a healer. It's more fun, because now that baby's under the ground. I doubt seriously after a while there's a consciousness to those that do these things. We tried to save him. Man is stupid. And especially those that deal with the allopathic thinking. This is antiquated, dark agey stuff that has to go through radical transformation. Hoping Obamacare will be part of that impetus for great medical doctors to now become healers and leave that crap to die, because it will die on its own. It's already ravished the economy of the world. We don't want to be a part of that. For you true doctors, whether you're allopaths, naturopaths, chiropractors, osteopaths, homeopaths. Did I say osteopaths? Okay. Healing is simple. We all get on the same tree. It's simple, and you can take some of your worst clients you've ever seen and brought them to Wellville. And it is simplistic, on point, with truth, and the proper focus chemically and physics, magnetically, energetically. It is the way it is. And so we need to join hands there. And I want to read the kind of a tie into what this person wrote here. And I think some of it was kind of on a, this is transition raw. Transition to raw. This is Monica. And she says, howdy-do, Dr. Morse. Were you in Disney World the other day with me to the howdy-doody thing? I'm just sitting in a medical clinic awaiting a post-minor car accident x-ray, and she thought, how about a Dr. Morse video on how detoxification specialists and detoxifiers alike can troubleshoot alongside allopathic healthcare, as we know it is a good precaution to take in the case of emergencies, but sometimes also inevitable that we end up at the doctor's. Okay, let's stop with that one, Monica. You know, when you move into the ER, you're moving in there either by ambulance or someone's taking you in there, and you've either had trauma, you've had a stroke or a heart attack, whatever, a car accident. These are all acid events. A car accident is an acid event. And so, why would you not immediately take all alkaline precautions? Diet change, you're going on a fruit diet, you're going to kick up the lymph system, because why? The lymph system has to clean any place that your body's been damaged. Your lymph system has to clean it. So, well, in the ER, we're going to immediately make sure you're filtering. We're going to immediately put you on a lymphatic formula and a kidney formula. You know, a trauma like that's going to wreck your adrenals, so we're going to go right in and pump up the adrenals. Now, we do that with a thing called epinephrine, but if we can keep that from that, we'll pump up epinephrine through pumping up the adrenals. We can also use flower essences to relax the individual, especially those in shock. That way they can collect their consciousness and be a part of their recovery process. We'd also have a colon therapist, get those bowels cleaned out of there. You know, a chiropractor, we give it an adjustment up that back. You know, so many things a hospital should have in there that does not have in there. They're not a place of healing. They're sick care institutes. They're cold. They don't have beautiful lobbies, and some of them are real nice. But every room in a hospital should open up to an atrium of beauty, of flowers and plants that are kissing and hugging you while you're watching them. You should have herbal products, not pharmaceutical products, things that have fatal events to them, things that can kill you right there in the hospital. If you need to have a pharmaceutical for emergencies that the herbs can't supply, fine. I'm for that in emergency medicine, but there's not many. There's not many at all. And reflexology can pull people out of cardiac arrest without us cracking people's sternums. There's all kinds of things. It could be done in the ambulance on the way here on an MI or a heart attack situation. There's endless things. And like I said, our burns, which you refer to here down below, Monica, our burns unit should have a nice tub waiting for you to dip you right into aloe, burdock, comfrey bath. And I'm telling you, it'll pull that pain right out of your body and it'll initiate the healing process of the skin. It's just a sad thing. I saw this couple getting married the other day on the news, and she'd been burnt on most of her body, radically burned, and he had had the first face transplant. And I felt sorry for her. I looked at her body and I thought, had we had her, her body would have looked a lot different today. The face transplant, what a miracle. I mean, there are great surgeons are great beings that can transform, and I just love great surgeons. This world needs great surgeries, no question. But we see a landslide of bad ones in here, and they're not too good. There's been a lot of bad surgeries out there, too. So I suppose you can say that with any field, and no disrespect to them at all. It's that healthcare general practitioner, I'm going to use pharmaceuticals to control your blood pressure. I don't care what's causing it because I don't even know. That sort of thinking. That's got to radically change because it's easy to understand why you have these problems, and these are generally easy to fix. Now, your problem is compliance with patients. That's going to be one of the problems. In a hospital setting, you got your lunch plate coming, and it should never have meats, dairies, should never have any of these things on it. You know, I was thinking back just now, and I wanted to finish up with the kid thing and the dairy products, because these are proteins, and the body does not like these type of proteins. The same thing with grains. These are gluten, proteins. And these proteins are mucus forming. They irritate the mucosa because they're acid principles. And some of the proteins are so radical and complex, the body goes this way, and that's an mucus is an immune response. And it's how the body protects itself from foreign chemistry or foreign matter that comes into the body is through the production of mucus from the mucosa. So what do you see with children? You see sinuses and mucousy, and then you see bronchitis, and you hear a little wheezing, and the fever starts going up. Is that a natural process? Absolutely. Here's the thing in the hospitals, fevers. We got to stop that. You got to stop that. That is, again, ass into the donkey. That's a natural process. And the problem is when you have a highly educated physician looking at a natural fever thinking that has to be stopped, what in the hell were they educated on? Not health, not vitality, sick care. And that's not even sick care. That's not even good sick care. That's how you can take someone that's medium sick or moderately sick and kill them. Can't do that. You know, I've said that anybody dies from pneumonia is unbelievable to me. And you hear the words dying from the complications of pneumonia. To me, that says they killed them right off, through antibiotics probably. And the meal coming probably had milk on it, dairy products, yogurt, whatever, ice cream treats, things like that. I told you about the young lad that had an MI that we got in ICU, and I went to visit this guy after lunch, and he had been eating a barbecued beef sandwich with French fries 3 hours post-MI. It's a heart attack. Well, he died that night, and they couldn't save him. Of course they couldn't save him. It's regurgitating. This is why you are so valuable to all life, not just this planet. You can't do anything. Remember, don't look to, look from. You are of the higher order of life. You're from that which creates all life. Be that always. Always try to be that. And the only way you know that is stop identifying yourself with that which is low, that which is thought, that which is emotions, and pull yourself back to that eternal now as much as you can. It's a continuing process. There's a lot of processes in growth that we're growing and we're letting go. Sometimes we can only let go a little at a time. But inside of yourself, start being free. You don't need anything external. I have that little trigger because I like how it looks. But if it's gone tomorrow, here, let me give it to a friend of mine. You know what I mean? That is how it's done. Something I wanted to tell you about that, and I totally lost my thinking. Because I wasn't thinking. All right. Alongside allopathic healthcare. Actually, the allopathic healthcare should follow us because they're truly alternative, not us. We're not alternative. Don't let anybody fool you. And stand up for truth. When someone says, oh, you do alternative medicine, no, we don't. We follow the traditional ways of nature. We follow traditional chemistry and physics. We follow what the Supreme Being, or that which we call God, or that which whoever calls what, created. That's simple. We're not a religious freak set, a spiritual freak set. This is facts. Facts of how the game's played. It's that simple. And so man has to awaken to this. Or not. At least you guys are awakening to that. For instance, points to include how to get an ego-based medical doctor to tube feed with fruits and herbs over Ensure. Well, that's a good one. Yeah, that would be nice. You know, feeding tube, no big deal. Up it with the fruit juice and the veggie juices and up it with the herbs. We've had so many people on feeding tubes. I've said this in other videos, don't let anything stop you if that individual wants to be well. No matter what the situation is or the circumstance, because you don't know. The outcome could shock you. It could literally shock you. Post-X-ray protocol. Again, You should be sucking down the juices. You got veggie juices in the greens. You got your fruit juices. You're going to detox all those radiation. As a matter of fact, make sure there's all digital radiation, so there's minimal radiation. And the amount of scans you're really going to need is not going to be much, because it doesn't take long for us to pull that out of you. And if you've had a car accident, you know your adrenals got hit. You're going to pump up your adrenals. You know you're acidic from that shock. So you're going to get all on a raw food diet and start accelerating the elimination of acids and the rebuilding of damaged tissue. Now wait a minute. Isn't that what we're doing anyway? See what I'm saying? It's good every way you turn and look at it. Post and during anesthesia protocols. Yeah, definitely in surgeries. So definitely, you can pump up the brain and nerve, upper circulation, get the body very alkaline before the surgery. Then detox, use your lymphatic formulas and start moving that lymph. Make sure the kidneys are filtering, because anybody that needs surgeries obviously lost their filtration from their kidneys to a big extent. So that's something that you have to do, and start fixing all this stuff. None of this is understood by the hospital. None of this. We need more naturopathic hospitals. Let me see here, snake and spider bite care. Well, I don't think she could have said it better, because if you ever seen a recluse spider bite down here, especially when the hospital's done with you, you're not feeling too good, it's not looking too good, and you've been pumped full of antibiotics. And I find that you medical doctors, please got to break this habit of antibiotics, thinking everything's bacterial. When you're dealing in neurotoxins, excitotoxins, you're dealing in toxins. You're not going to get rid of toxins with antibiotics, but you are with what herbs? Your lymphatic herbs. Notice all your lymphatic herbs are for snake bites, poisons, tumors, all the gnarly side of chemistry. Absolutely. Plantain, the famous plantain of the mongrel and the king snake or whatever, the mongoose and the cobra, I guess it is. Thanks. So you got plantain. So if you're going in the woods snake, I'd take a bunch of lymphatic formulas with you. I can just tell you that. Spider bites, you're going to clean your lymph system, and you clean your blood. The blood formula is great for cleaning the blood, but raw fruits and berries are going to clean your blood like nothing else. It's your lymph system that's the problem. That's either going to carry the poisons and the waste away from you, or it's going to allow it to feed back into the bloodstream. You can handle the blood quicker than you can handle the lymph system. That's what I'm getting at. And that should be a real important do. All emergency kits should have endocrine glands or adrenals. All emergency kits should have anti-inflammatories or antispasmodics, like our antispasmodic. Parasite M and G for gnarly type of infestations or bad food, that sort of thing. Lymphatic formulas, kidney formulas, and have yourself a nice. We were going to put up a emergency kit at one time, and we had a kit for singers because we have so many singers that come to us, and we had voice box tea. We had at one time. We had all kinds of things like that. Forgot about all those things. Life has changed in a lot of ways. Falling off the wagon with meat or dairy post-care. Say, for instance, if your gallbladder spits the dummy. Well, it's funny you just said that, because I had a friend of mine call me today, and he said, my wife's in trouble. My wife, they want to take the gallbladder out. She's got stones, and it's swelling the bile duct, and she's got a lot of pain. They want to take her gallbladder out. Well, the gallbladder's not the bile duct. So here's the problem. This lady has to, and come to find out 20 years ago, she had a cancer tumor in between her breasts. And then, come to find out, she's got a cyst on the liver. Well, honey, You ain't just got gallstones. But when you go to gallstones or kidney stones, you know you're in a highly acidic medium. You know that the lymph system isn't moving well. And then when you have polyps, tumors, cysts, whatever popping out on tissues, you know the lymph system is stagnant in those tissues and backed up. Going back to her original cancer, you know immediately she wasn't filtering lymphatically. So you're going to go to her kidneys, you're going to go to her adrenals, and you're going to start getting her to start filling the cup so she can get this out of her. So some things appear to be just a little gallbladder attack. When she wants to save her gallbladder, of course she does, but she's got something more serious. She's got a liver breaking down, so she wants to address that before she gets cirrhosis or whatever. She wants to address all these things, and then she'll be well. But that's the sort of thing that even in hospitals you have to understand is that once you come in with a problem, you want to address that problem systemically. Because this idea of treating locally, or you're just going to treat the gallbladder and do a liver gallbladder flush and pop the stones out, dig deeper with your clients. Because when you see acidosis at the point where the fluids are coagulating to the point of forming stones, then you know this person is systemically acidic. And when you start digging, you'll start seeing truth starting to come out about what they've had and what they've been suffering with. And you're going to, whether you're in a hospital or whether you're not, you're going to start detoxing them. Because detox, remember, is also regeneration. In trauma, you want to rebuild that tissue, but you don't want scar tissue to develop. You don't want to half-ass rebuild it, because that's when scar tissue sets in. You want to rebuild it. Well, you can't rebuild it. The body has to rebuild it. Well, what state is the healing state between acid or base? Base. Alkaline. So this is why the diet is so key. You get trauma and you damage tissue. You don't want protein. See, that's what people think. I've just damaged my muscle. I damaged tissue. I need amino acids. Got plenty in your fruits, berries, and melons. You want a whole host, a broad spectrum of chemistry, from flavonoids to astringents to all types of things in your foods to deal with that traumatic or traumatized area. And this will be the same in any condition. It doesn't matter whether it's trauma or whether you're creating it through your lifestyle habits and your genetics. You rewind both of them the same. Isn't that cool? Almost too simple for the mind. And that's going to be the hardest chew that you see and you're involved in, is it's too simple for them. We must return this planet to simplicity. And then with the things we've learned, we can bring a balance as how creation lifts itself up to another level. And that's why it's important that we awaken and help and da-da-da-da-da. Poultices for burns and stitches and wounds. Absolutely. We can accelerate the healing inside and out. It's phenomenal. What can't we do? Well, probably a lot of things, but still, it's pretty cool to see what you can do with the body and its rapid state of getting it into a rapid state of repair. But you cannot. Remember, we talked about cutting yourself the more alkaline you are and seeing how fast it heals, how much bleeding, blah, 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 blah. The more raw you guys are and the more deeper you get into that body and clean the lymph systems, your trauma will be nothing. You will cease to fracture as much. You will have rapid healing. You won't be stiff and tight with all the systemic acidosis from trauma like that. It's a miles long of the things that you won't experience as others will. And then if you have a really bad one, your body can repair, even neurologically. And that's the big one, is repairing neurologically from a stroke, heart attack, whatever, particularly a stroke. How to enforce botanicals and raw foods into hospital care plans. Well, that would be terminate the American Dietetics Association and give them an ultimatum. Run or go to jail for all your stupidity. And you've been told, you've been warned, you've been told by groups for the last 75 years, at least. And yet, the mind is what keeps people from change. That's the problem. Your mind gets locked into these grooves of thoughts. It was hell just to get them to change the pyramid to what it is now, which is still stupid. Violates all proper food combinations. Foods men shouldn't even be eating. I mean, this is what we recommend to feed our children and our people in hospitals. It's no wonder man has a hard time pulling up out of that here. It's gotten so powerful and yet so stagnant. Contraindications, etc., etc. Lastly, I think we all need to unite in this. Yeah. Well, Monica, that's exactly why I'm doing this, dear one. Exactly why. I'm not going to read too many because I just wanted this to kind of be a little rap session with you guys. I haven't spent time. We're always going over cases and hadn't spent time to tell you I love you all and that you've been, really doing fantastic. I'm so proud of every one of you. I can't even tell you. It's got me right here a little bit. But keep it up. Don't let anything stop you. Well, I'm right behind you 100%. You got a lot of spiritual beings that's working with us. So you got a lot of help. And sometimes in places you don't think or know that you do. So keep that heart open. Always keep it open, but protected. Don't let just anything come in and sit in you. Don't let anything come and sit in you. You're the only thing that needs to sit inside the self and be the observer and the watchers of life. Go play and have fun, but don't get attached to the play and the fun. Do it for you. You're doing it for the fun of it in the moment. Next moment, something else. Next moment, something else. Live in that moment. Fun stuff. But it's amazing how simplistic it when you understand the difference between you, the mind, your emotions, or you and your bodies. Once you realize that you are not your bodies, once you realize you're not your thinking processes, you're the awareness behind them, you'll start finding that excitement, that joy, that nirvana, that ecstasy of freedom. And start getting detached. Who cares? You got to be detached because it all is going to be what it's going to be no matter what we do. And that's a hard one even for me. The reason, and this is Christina, and the reason I was wanting to read this one, it says, "Hey, Dr. Morse, I am a 17-year-old girl from Canada." Now, here's a 17-year-old. And last week, I think I was talking about a 16 and a 15-year-old. That's not include all the 7 and 8-year-olds full of cancers and tumors and all the baby. Oh, my God. It's such a sad thing. It's sometimes hard to look at. And yet, it's just creation. Got to keep reminding ourselves that. This young lady has dealt with a lot of acne breakouts. So, you see a lot of people talking about acne and psoriasis now, don't you? And there's so many young people that have had full of acne. And let's go back to the little baby that you're feeding them cow's milk or formulas. You are clogging that little baby up, or those that are doing that are clogging your little babies up, or their little babies up, with mucus and acids. Well, in today's world where the kidneys and adrenals are not filtering, out of all these long-term genetic passes of weaknesses within these tissues, we are flatly having filtration problems. And of course, thyroids are low. So when you see someone with heavy skin problems, what part of the body does the skin, or what role does the skin play? Protection, yes. It is the largest eliminative organ you have. It is the largest kidney you have. And sweating is a form of peeing. And the trouble is when you can't do these things, or your consumption of mucus-forming or protein-rich foods is high, your congestion gets high. And you've seen the eyes here where these people's heads are literally full of mucus. They can't sleep. They can't think. They start getting imbalances from the cerebellum, the equilibrium center. I mean, it just goes on and on. Their bronchi and lungs are full. They're forming tumors all over the place. And that's before they're 7 years old. That's insane. We must stop feeding the children the way we're feeding them. It's insane. There's no science behind that. I don't know what they're thinking about. And where they don't wake up to that sort of problem, because we're putting all this congestion and these acids into these babies and wondering why their skin is so bad. They have pimples all over the place. When you see someone with pimples all over the place, what system is that? That's the lymph system. That's interstitial fluids. Pop it and you'll see interstitial fluids, a little blood and mostly pus. Lymph. It's a lymph system. Well, the lymph system doesn't use the colon to eliminate. It uses the kidneys and the skin. And the role of the fevers are essential in dilating and getting that skin to sweat, pulling this stuff or pushing this stuff, either way you look at it, out. Essential to get to Wellville. You don't get the mucus out of your brain, that can be your next tumor. That can be your migraine headaches. That can be your inability to think and to remember yesterday. Because they're somewhat good to have some memory, I suppose. Controlled memory. Yeah. So, and I've been asked this about scarring from acne. You got to be raw. And let's make no mistake, when you're into deep regeneration of tissue, whether it's nerve tissue, muscle tissue, bone tissue, you need to be 100% raw. That's the place to be. That's the most enlivening. That's the acceleration of power to the body and its ability to heal that you can do. So 100% raw is key. Getting away from so many vegetables is also key. You'll see that. It'll take you down a road to a point, and then suddenly you wonder why you're not getting any better. Look, the raw's not doing it for me. It's not about that. It's the type of raw. Get rid of the vegetables. They're for horses and cows. They're for herbivores. Of course, I have a salad every day, so I can't bitch about that. But a good salad a day, okay. But when you're going after something, and especially you guys with neurological conditions, like this girl I saw on the campsite, I think it was cerebral palsy. Doesn't matter. You're going after it in the same way. This girl drinks a glass of milk 1 or 2 or 3 times a day, lots of ice cream. She'll never, ever be able to overcome cerebral palsy with that type of diet. It should just get worse. So when you have this kind of diet and you're full of mucus, what do you expect is going to start coming out when you start detoxifying? Mucus. And so the fever is the way the body kicks that. So you've got triggers. The biggest trigger to detoxification is alkaline. Anything alkaline, raw foods, cold weather, things that are alkaline is the trigger of detoxification. Stress, though, these are acid sides. The acid side can trigger you into an elimination. Stress, getting too acidic, and then bam, we go back and blame the bacterium. It's like, what? Remember, you see these mucus elimination in stages. You see the freshest stuff go out first. Clear mucus. Then you start to see a little yellow, and you're feeling it's a little deeper. Oh, I'm getting sicker. No, you're detoxifying deeper. Therefore, you get the yellow or subacute stages out. Here comes the green if you're in there deep, baby. Green and brown. That's the level that you want to see coming out of those sinuses and out of those lungs. That's that deep mucus that's been in you for years. That stuff's got to come out. Those are your chronic levels. And you notice in blue eyes start changing to match those levels. You see them going from white to yellow to hazel. And then, of course, you start seeing black holes everywhere from the last stage, and you can get that kind of mucus out, which is black, tarry, thick stuff. That is degenerative stages of toxicity and tissues and stuff like this, where you get into that. Remember I was telling you, Dimitri, on his during his dry fast after his 42-day water fast, where he got 3 or 4 large black stones out. That's the kind of level that's deep in the body and hard to get out. And when you start seeing those black stones and black putrid matter coming out, You are deep, baby, in that body, and you are getting into that core essence of the problem. When you see things like this constantly, you start understanding what causes what medical doctors call diseases. You start understanding why they're lost in the field of dreams and why there's no hope in that direction. Wrong direction. You got to turn yourself around and put your feet right on the path of Wellville. Means clean your body out of this stuff. The body always wants to detox itself. It just needs the right chemistry, the right magnetics, and they're found predominantly in fruits, berries, and melons. Vegetables, good old boys, all right. Build yourself up, okay. Green drinks, okay, good for heavy metals, blah, 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 blah. Not against any of that, but I'm talking deeper tissue work. Where you're digging deep into the body, you need to get to these higher levels. And for those that feel like they've reached a plateau, you might have to push yourself deeper into these levels. It's just sometimes essential that we do that. You have to do that if you want to get rid of scar tissue from acne and stuff like this. Because the body will not build up, beat up, or chew up scar tissue unless it's at that high level of regeneration. Then it'll chew up that scar tissue. You see it in bone anyway. Shouldn't be something that's voodoo. It's like adhesions. It can form it and it can unform it. It's like a tumor. It forms them, it can unform them. These are just storage pockets. You realize when you start seeing what's growing in or on the body, it's simply effective acidosis and toxemia. Always. There's no other reason. Health does not expose these sort of things. Weaknesses do. Nature's all designed to attack the weaknesses. Full of them. Bacterias, virals, fungus, all in the process of breaking things down from atom structures to basic atoms again. Essential as it would be in a child playing with a log set. After he's built his house, he wants to tear it down and try another one. Essential to life. So important that they get this before, things are so bad. But all you young guys with acne and stuff, dig in and clean your bodies out. Get your kidneys filtered, because most of you young ones like this have major kidney and adrenal filtration problems, low blood pressures. You want to fix these things up, guys. This is the system with all the cancers and everything like this. In time, you'll be popping the basal cells and things like this. And no, the skin is a reflection of what's going on inside of you. So what you see on your skin is merely what's going on in. And that should be enough to scare you to go, hey, I need to deal with this. Because internally, I'm burning up. I'm on fire. I'm full of acids, which will lead me nowhere good. And at 17, she's only 17. And you'll see that in the young ones, in these 7 and 8-year-olds. You see these rashes in babies. Well, look at what you're feeding them. It's a sad thing, and thanks to you guys and you beautiful mothers out there that are raising your babies on the coconut milks and the fruits, you're going to have little gorillas. The problem is they're going to be smart little gorillas. I mean, really smart little gorillas. That's what I'm excited to see what our society is going to do with this level of these high spiritual beings you mothers and dads are bringing into this world, and you're helping them to get there. It ought to be a lot of fun. At least for us. She has managed to control. See, now here's she uses a good terminology here. She's talking about acne breakouts, which I have now managed to control. And she knows better, but still, using that word control is just what all a pastor about. So let's try and control acidosis of the body by putting more acids in, or suppressive steroids. Later to have things explode. Are you kidding me? Insanity. Insanity. Now get this. However, I now have pigmentation problems in that some of my skin is darker compared to the rest of my skin. So what gland could this be affecting? Pituitary, you're right on. Affecting the skin pigmentation, that would be pituitary. And, of course, you're seeing some problems with that. And you could probably relate your height, sweetheart, and things like that to that. Your monthly cycles, if they're irregular, you know it's definitely your pituitary, so you might want to look at that one. I also have some acne scarring as well and was looking into some of your formulas to take. I spoke to my dermatologist. Get this one. I love this one. I spoke to my dermatologist, and she suggested laser treatments. Let's just burn you more. Hell, if these acids aren't burning you enough, I can take a laser and strip that skin right off. How idiocy is that, or these acid peels, when the problem is internal? Dermatologists, please, your reputation isn't looking too good amongst people that know. It's ridiculous. Internal toxemia. Fix that, you clean the skin. It's just, get this. I also asked my dermatologist opinions on raw food and herbs. I love this one. This is classic. And he mentioned it would be a waste of my time and I should go straight to the laser. It is possible to get my skin back the way it was. And have you ever seen scarring disappear? Well, first of all, it'll never be the same as it was if you do the laser. And second of all, yes, I've seen scarring disappear. This is Jenny. I love that. I love a medical doctor who gives their opinion on herbs and raw foods who have no whatsoever awareness in that field, no education in that field, no experience in that field, just what they think, just what their conditioned mind has been taught, or what their buddies think or their school thinks. These are little robots that walk around and slam everybody else but themselves. It's the same old stuff, years and years and years. But these people have to change because of some of the worst MDs or dermatologists and oncologists. These guys don't know which side's up. They don't know what causes things. And they do all these things that hurt people to try to get remedy, knowing that they can't get complete remedy for the person doing that. I can tell you, we've had people in here in older years, acne from their youth, taking all these, and look at Accutane and all these bad drugs. You're trying to suppress that gigantic sewer system of the human body? That should be almost a crime in and of itself, because that sets you up for death right there. You don't suppress the body sewer system. No one blocks off their sewer pipes before they flush the toilet with a bunch of nasty stuff in it. I mean, where are these people coming from? Anyway, I just wanted to get into these two. I wasn't going to spend a lot of time. I just picked those two off the top just briefly while we were waiting. And I just wanted to kind of talk with you a little bit. But those two things sounded interesting to me, hospitals and what we need to do with that. It's just enough to say that I don't know where this planet's going in that way, but it's enough to say that it is moving towards some huge changes. So you need to be right where you're at and just keep letting go. You beautiful souls, each and every one of you are so beautiful to me, that just keep letting go and being with all of us in the God worlds, in the heavens, because the only way to live and be in heaven is to stop thinking, to stop playing in creation. You can still view through these bodies, and you can still move your bodies around, but don't let them control your consciousness, your awareness. And remember, your attention is how you move. You move from here, over to here, over to here, over to here. However, you have this. We always call this the 360-degree view, because that's soul. So the less you have your attention sliced up in all these pieces, from all the things you own, from all the people you love personally, from all the pains and suffering, from all the articles that you own, that's still, none of those are you. Those are your little tools and toys. Have fun, play with them, but don't let them control you. Be free always. Be free to turn from everything you have and walk into the gloriousness of the light. Matter of fact, be the light. Always be the light to others. I always write that when I write each and every one of you something. I always tell you to be the light and give love to all things, because by you giving, you will be that which you give. and you give God in love and humility, you will become that very thing. And that is godly. And that is fun. That leads you into journeys far beyond this limited expression of this world. This is not just about those that don't want to know anything about the Creator or anything. For just the sake of you travelers who want to journey into untold lands of beauty and jewels. Get away from this one. This is the most inert one. So learn to play and have fun here. But there's so much more to have fun. So this is my holiday love to each and every one of you. You probably won't get this one up. We got one more Chris is waiting to get up. So I've been kind of pumping these out a little bit for you. But I just wanted to have some time and talk with each and every one of you, to tell each and every one of you I love you. I appreciate you tuning into the site. I appreciate you hanging in there through thick and thin. You know, and just be aware you're going to have all the negative things biting at your heels. Be strong. Don't let anything or anybody get into you and affect your joy, your happiness, and who you are. Always make your relationships because you want them. Because, hey, that person's cool. I'd like to spend some time with that person. Yeah, those are good relationships. Happy holidays, everyone, and I love you all.